Reddit. What is your best teenage breakup story? Before we dig into it, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Story 1. I TP'd someone's house with some friends. The cops came. My friends scattered. I stupidly tried to hide behind a bush. Someone saw my body lying still behind the bush. I guess it looked like I was a dead body. This guy called the cops back because they thought they had stumbled upon a murder scene. After 20 more minutes of lying still scared because this guy had his headlights trained on me, the cops came and found I was alive. After giving me a light kick, they were cool and gave me a ride home. Story 2. I was 13 and I just got back from Korea. Being a kid, the only souvenirs I brought back were BB guns. I had this toy Glock -23 that was pretty real looking, complete with safety trigger and everything. Anyway, during summer vacation I was hanging out at my friend's house and I had brought along my BB guns. I lent my friend the Desert Eagle and I took the Glock. We were both really into Counter-Strike back then. We made believe. We were in one of the CS maps. I think it was CS Siege or the Nuke, but that's not relevant to the story here. They had one of those driveways that ran along the side of the house with a garage at one end and the street at the other. This becomes important later on. Being the stupid-ass punk kids we were, we realized, hey, this isn't real Counter-Strike without sniping. But no, we weren't going to snipe each other. Oh, no, that would be too boring. We were going to shoot complete strangers. Cause that's real Counter-Strike, make-believe. Just then, the song of my people started playing. The ice cream truck had arrived. We looked at each other and traded Return of the Jedi nods and quickly scurried over to the garage. The plan was to shoot the ice cream truck the moment when he would cross our view. My friend bet me $2. I couldn't hit the ice cream truck. It was about 50 feet or so, and I scoffed at his implication that I was a sniping ear up. It's on, I said. So there I was, lying prone on the ground using a toy Glock -23 as a sniper rifle, about to unleash yellow BB hell on this ice cream truck. The ice cream truck popped up in my sights and I fired a single shot straight at it. Then we heard it, a deafening, chilling scream. We freaked out and ran away to the baseball field 2 to 3 blocks away. Neither of us had no idea what had just happened. 30 minutes or so went by and my friend got a message on his beeper. Holy crap, I'm old. It was his mom's number, along with a 911, which was code for Matt, whoop your butt, get home now. He looked at me and I knew that we had no choice but to turn ourselves in. As a safety measure, we ditched our BB guns at home plate and began our walk of shame. When we got to his house, nothing had prepared me for what was waiting for us. There were 2 patrol cars with flashing lights, and they wanted an explanation. Apparently, this ice cream truck was running quite an unusual business model. Whereas a normal ice cream truck usually had one person operating as a driver or server, this ice cream truck was running a 2-man cell. One drove and another sat at the ice cream truck's window to serve younglings. My PR-0 sniper shot, apparently, was perfectly aimed. It sailed right into the ice cream truck's side window and nailed the server in the air. The lobe alone was swollen to about the size of a quarter. The ice cream guy, about 6 for 200+ pound, or at least it seemed that way at the time, took one look at me and immediately said that he didn't want to press charges but just wanted an apology. Me and my friend apologized and confessed to our alter egos as PR-0 snipers to the cops. They asked where we had hid our weapons and we reluctantly told them, "Let's go pick them up," said an officer. It was my first and only ride in the back of a patrol car. It was a mixed bag of feelings containing I'm Bart Simpson, badass, and oh my god, please don't put me in jail. We picked up the BB guns and afterwards the cops brought me to my house. Nobody was home and so they asked me to get the house phone and call my parents. I did as I was told, all the while scared crapless. They explained to my short conservative Korean parents that their son was headshotting ice cream workers. It was safe to say I was fricked, but that wasn't all. The cops asked me if I had a hammer handy, confused. I said yes. They ordered me to get it and bring it over. Once I did, they told me to break my BB gun with it, my only souvenirs from my father's homeland, and they wanted me to destroy them with my own hands. Cruelty beyond words. It killed me to do it, but I did it. It was better than going to jail. I told myself, when it was all over, that I was in my driveway, hammer in my hand, slouched over the remains of my Glock -23 and Desert Eagle BB guns, freaking out over what my parents would do when they would arrive home in a few hours. As the cops were leaving, I think they gave a light chuckle as they flashed their lights one last time as they drove off. Beep whoop boop. That was a sound I'll never forget. It was the sound of that summer ending right there, at least for me. TLDR. I was a PR-0 sniper, but the counter-terrorist one. Edit grammaring. Story 3. I have a couple of these. 8th grade, my grades started going from awesome to crap that year, so naturally I scanned my report card, opened it in MS Paint and changed the grades on it using copy and paste on MS Paint. This was like 15 years ago, but still what the frick was. I thinking it was pathetic and I can't believe I wasn't caught the instant. I gave the fake to my mother. A few weeks later I did it for a friend and his mom called my mom. That was a crappy summer 9th grade. I was at this Cottonmouth Kings concert, embarrassing, and this kid that was with my group of friends brought a big bag of mushrooms. They had a pizza cart right on the floor of the show, so naturally we bought like 2 slices between the 5 of us and dumped the shrooms all over them. It was my first time tripping. I had no idea what I was doing. I was high as balls and spent the rest of the show on the smoker's patio watching my friend peek for like an hour. The concert ended and my mom came to pick all us kids up. She could instantly tell we were trashed and must have thought it was hilarious just to mess with me and my friends. My mom parked the car in a grocery store parking lot and sent 5 kids into the store with $50 and a list of stuff we had to get. My friends and I spent the next hour and a half in a grocery store, absolutely freaking out, looking like idiots and buying the wrong stuff. Worst mushroom trip ever. I was a terrible kid and my mom handled it to the best of her capability. I love that woman. Story 4. My brother was a frick-up. He went to jail for heroin possession over the summer. My dad agreed to bail him out, but he had to stay in the house the entire time until his court case. My dad helped him out with everything over the time, got him new clothes, took him to the doctors and dentists, even offered to take him to the outpatient rehab in the next town. Over one day after my dad took him to the dentist had to pay out of pocket because he was 19, my brother came home, not a single thank you for anything. He snuck out of the house when my dad wasn't looking. My dad was pissed, so he locked him out and said he was done with him. 4 days later, my father died of a heart attack. I try not to blame my brother, but he was responsible for 90% of his stress. Story 5. Threw a match into a box of black cat fireworks while standing in a dry grass field under heavy power lines. Big explosions, ooh ah. Small grass fire okay, start stomping. Big grass fire not. Okay, stomp more. Wind picks up, hollow flames run. Fire burns, field power lines melt. I hide under my bed. Fire department, police, ambulance, power company blackout for 3 days. During the summer, no air conditioning means hot, angry people fight each other. TL Doctor, I caused neighborhood apocalypse. Story 6. Played impromptu baseball in school and busted a girl's face with a solid oak coat rack. Then she asked me to prom and I said no, because bust a face not my funnest moment. Story 7. I texted my girlfriend, yo, let's do anal tonight and on Fridays. It was entirely a joke. Her and I both knew it. It was an ongoing joke. We had her massively overprotective father saw the text and calls me from her phone, screaming at the top of his lungs. I remember him saying, I know how you youngsters think you do it in the butt to avoid pregnancy. It was the worst 10-minute phone call of my life. Story 8. When I was 14, I didn't tell my parents about an early release school date and instead went to the movies with the guy at the movie theater. We were making out heavily when suddenly someone taps his shoulder. It was one of the theater workers telling us to exit the movie. As soon as we get out, mall security is waiting for us and take us to a containment area in the mall. They accused me of giving him a blowjob in the theater, which I never had done at that point, and threatened to charge us with public indecency. Even though we denied it, they still called our parents and had them pick us up. Needless to say, I was grounded for a long time. Let me clarify that I have never given a blowjob in a theater. Story 9. I was 14 years old and had recently discovered a little activity we called power boxing or shutting off the power to our home. I thought it would be real funny to sneak into the yard of my neighbors and shut off their power while I waited in the bushes to watch them come out trying to figure out what happened. So I shut off the power and lay, waiting. Nothing. I figured they must already be asleep. So I went home feeling let down that my stupid prank didn't create any ruckus at all. A week later, that family came home from a vacation to find that their power had been shut off. Their newly landscaped yard had been killed off by the 100+ degree F heat. Many trees died and the grass was yellow or brown, costing thousands to replace the ice maker in their freezer. Also melted and spilled gallons of water onto their nice wood floors, warping the wood and permanently damaging the flooring. They also had a large industrial-sized freezer in their garage full of frozen meat, more specifically, salmon from their annual Alaska fishing trip. All of it had gone, rotten and stunk to high heavens. My mom caught wind of our neighbor's misfortune and immediately sensed her troublemaker son has something to do with it. She confronted me on the issue. I confessed and approached the neighbors to confess my misdeed. He was real cool and told me that confessing must have been real hard and that if I helped with yard work during the summer, he would forgive me. TLDR, I shut off the power at my neighbor's house as a prank and caused thousands of dollars of damage. Story 10. My stepmom inherited a genuine Tiffany lamp from the 1880s or so. She put it in a cardboard box wrapped in blankets and put it under our ping pong table. I wanted to move the ping pong table up against the wall to play solo off the backboard or whatever you call it. So as I moved the table, the box was in the way, so I shoved it with my foot. I heard glass break and thought little of it. I figured it was a light bulb or something cheap. We did not have anything nice in our house, so breaking something wasn't all that upsetting. Later that day, in passing, I told my dad I broke something. He said, "What was it? I dunno." I replied, "Something glass inside that blanket box under the ping pong table." His face went white. He walked away and went upstairs to check and then told my stepmom. I heard her yell, "What?" Later that night he told me what it was that I broke. The lamp is worth tens of thousands. It had been passed down through the generations of women on her side to end up in her hands. She had it for 24 hours before one of her 5 boys had broken. She hardly stopped crying for 2 days, 100 years. No problem, 24 hours with me and it's destroy. Story 11. A night of epic partying at my parents' house when they were out of town. At least 50 people, all of them wasted and doing unspeakable things, and some idiot videotaped the whole thing. After cleaning everything up and restoring the house to normal, I thought I had gotten away with it scot-free. About 2 days later, my mom calls me downstairs because my little brother had put one of his movies in a VHS player. It was the tape of the party, which included a couple having sex in my parents' bed, a few people smoking joints in the kitchen, and using the good crystal to play quarters. The couple in my parents' bed had dressed up in my little brother's Viking costume from Halloween, just to add that final touch of debauchery. Story 12. Me and some friends snuck into a rival high school and I took a gargantuan crap in their gymnastics foam pit. We got caught, no legal trouble, but we all got 60 days alternative school and had to pay the school $4,500. I worked an entire summer getting $40 a week at $11/HR and didn't see a dime. Edit, thanks for giving me gold. Maybe this wasn't a teenage frick up, I mean crap. I got Reddit gold, my life's turning around, boys. Edit 2, I was a cook at a high-scale restaurant. That's where I made 11/HR. Story 13. Came home blacked out, drunk, with vomit in my pockets. Woke my parents up falling into things when they came out to see what was going on. I was pissing in the living room floor. Story 14. My friend at the time fricked my older brother. She would ask if she could spend the night. Say she was going to get a drink of water and have sex with my brother. She's still a cunt face. Story 15. I once got drunk at a party and told my crush all my niche porn taste and then asked her out to prom using the DJ's microphone. Good times, man. Good times, edit. Same night did the cinnamon challenge twice, no problem. Friends decided to switch to curry. Pro life tip, don't do it. Story 16. At the doctor's age 11 or so. When the doctor left, I pumped the blood pressure meter as high as it would go. Cause it was awesome, it popped mercury everywhere. Hazmat team called in building. Shut down TLDR. Hazmat team. Story 17. I was 16 and had just started smoking. We went to a baseball game as a family. I told my family I had to go to the bathroom when really all I wanted was to find someone to bum a cigarette off of. I found a group of younger looking people smoking. I approached and asked for a cigarette. They gave me one and we sat there talking for a few minutes. They then invited me to go to the beer garden with them. I told them I was 16 and they said they were fine with that. One of the guys ordered me a rum runner and we drank and talked. I lost track of the time, but I think 30 minutes went by. Next thing, I know my uncle walked into the bar, saw me and approached the table. He looked around the table in disgust and said, "She's 16. He then grabbed my arm and we left. He kept asking me to blow in his face and accused me of drinking beer. I was adamant. I had not drank beer because I hadn't, and I was kind of a smartass. We returned to my seat and my aunt was crying. They thought I had been abducted. I felt terrible. I was grounded for the rest of the summer and could do nothing but work and come home. Looking back, I realized how dumb I was, still feel bad about it. It was a good time though. Story 19. My brother and his friends decided it would be fun to shoot a propane tank wrapped in a gasoline-soaked towel, which was fine because they decided the middle of a barren cow pasture was the place to do it. And it is, bang, boom, wah. Everyone was happy and satisfied, except for Tim, who decided it would be fun to show some of his friends. Now, Tim was only 14 at the time and loved weed. Tim decides to replicate fun times in the backyard of his parents' house, which happens to be a part of a forest. He and his friends set up the propane tank. Bang, boom, wah. Now it's time to go inside and take some bong rips. They come back outside to a raging fire. Tim grabs a hose. The fire department eventually gets called for what ended up being 150+ acre forest fire. Tim's parents are held liable and now have to pay a fine. Luckily, no one died and Tim's parents' house didn't burn down.